guys I've ever met. He's so practical. He said, you just tell us, we're gonna do it. That's it. You tell us every broker's open, so get in touch with Michael. He'll host every one of your open house. And brokers open.
And brokers opens will do the catering within reason. We're not getting sushi boats for everyone. No, but listen, if it's a $5 million listing, we're gonna open up a checkbook and we'll have it. It'll be nice. 65,000 in Kings Point. Maybe we'll get a little rugula something on the side.
Which is perfect for Kings Point.
Right.
No.
But listen to Joe, what he's doing. This is a great class, and some of it does have to do with underwriting and what happens after that and our process. Like right now, we're going through a house under appraised, and we're doing a reconsideration of value. And there's a process to it. So that's. We all want, everybody thinks that like the banks and everybody wants the thing to underappraise. We don't. We want this thing to everybody wants an appraisal to hit. But if we think and we see that maybe there were comps that weren't used, or if there were errors, we'll fill out, or we'll have the listing agent, because they're the ones who should be supplying the listings and what they use to price the property. Have them fill out the reconsideration of value. If there are any errors, we'll do it. And I've run into this before, we've done it. We've filled it out. The appraiser was digging his heels in. He had marketing time 3 to 6 months. He had supply and demand were in balance. This was Boca a year ago. None of that was true. Days on market, all the comps, 4 days, 7 days, 1 day, 2 day. He was saying it takes 3 to 6 months to sell a house. Really?
A year ago?
My comps were 4 days. He refused to change it. Refused. So our department said, all right, this is a flawed appraisal. We're paying for another appraisal. And we paid for another appraisal, and we had an appraisal done. We have to okay that with Fannie and Freddie, because otherwise it's considered appraisal shopping, but that was a flawed appraisal, and the appraiser was digging his heels in, and he was wrong. So there are steps that we will take. All right, I'm done talking. Go.
All right, Joseph, thank you again. So you guys pick up, this is the way to do it. So thank you, Joseph. We appreciate you taking the time and doing this, because Joseph is a busy grown, does a lot of stuff, and has 85 kids, and busy family.
Okay, so we talked about last week that there's 1.5 million people in Palm Beach County. What was it? 200,000 realtors.
Do you want me
licensed
to get the numbers?
realtors. Do you mind?
No, I don't mind.
And
Cause
then-
I don't know what I did. Sorry, guys.
It's broken.
I'll fix it.
And so your
How many
chances,
realtors?
just under 200,000. So your chances are every 7.5 persons out there is a realtor.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of competition. So you have a client who chose you to represent them, so that's a win. And then you found them the house that they want. They want to put in an offer. So boom, that's a win. So you're winning all around. Then you have then after that you put in the offer, and it gets accepted. So hey, you're in the home stretch, right? Now we're talking from that point forward. Your offer is accepted. What do you do from that point on to get it to close? So here's a question. Your offer is accepted. Do you... Oh, and then how many... Everyone knows how many realtors, Lindsay?
12 realtors.
Holy cow.
82% sellers list with the first agent to contact them. 89% would use their agent again, and only 26% actually do. And then 10 to 12% of agent. I should write better.
Okay, but the point is that everyone knows...
10% of your contacts.
Thank you.
If you contact them, they will do a transaction.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the goal of going through your sphere. 10 to 12% of them will be selling or buying this year. That's what that
Most
is.
of your
Thank
clients
you.
are Metten buyers.
Yes, so everyone knows 12 agents, and they chose you. That's a really big deal. And then you were able to get them the house, and then get it under contract. Huge deal. So this is like the home stretch, and we're just talking about how not to screw it up from this point forward. You know, like all the great things that you've done. So here's the question: you get it executed, the contract's executed. Do you A, go out and celebrate? Do you B, forget that you just got an executed contract and go about your life and just think it's gonna go, everything's gonna close? Or do you C, sit down and do an hour's worth of boring admin work.
Yes.
C.
C. Good job, guys. Sharp group. I know
That's
it's a tough one.
Litigants for
And that's
everyone.
yeah. So that's what we're talking about, the boring stuff, the nitty gritty stuff. So it's not like, it's not sexy, it's not real exciting.
Right.
It's kind of like, poke your eyeballs out type of work.
Everything's very timely from this point. So
Right,
you gotta
exactly. So
stick
we're
to
talking
your
about-
time schedules. Pay
Right.
attention.
So we're talking about your timelines and keeping your timelines. So the first thing in the timeline, the most important thing to know is your effective date. And your effective date is when the executed contract is delivered to both parties. So one party may get it, but not deliver it to the other party. It's not executed until both parties receive it.
So it's not when they sign.
Sign when they sign.
It's when it's delivered to all parties.
Okay.
So it may have been
Right.
signed the day before, but if it hasn't been delivered
Okay,
to the other party, then it's not effective.
and that's day 0 when they get it?
Yes, and
Okay.
then when they
That I
get it,
haven't heard.
then it is day 0. So your effective date is day 0, and then from that point on, day 1, 2, 3, 4, what have you. If that timeline, if it ends on a Saturday or Sunday or holiday, national holiday, then it rolls into the next day. So, but those weekends still count. So let's say you have executed contract on Friday and a national holiday on Monday. Your escrow, you have 3 days. So let's work this out.
Business days,
No.
days, right.
So let's
Right.
play this out. So on Friday you get it's effective. It's executed contract. That's day 0. So then Saturday is day 1, Sunday is day 2, Monday is day 3. But remember that was a national holiday.
So then Tuesday.
So then Tuesday. So Tuesday.
But if day 3 happens to be Tuesday, Monday still counts,
What was
right? So if day 3 is Tuesday, Monday still counts,
Monday
even
still
if it's a
counts.
holiday,
Correct.
you don't, it's only if
Correct.
it falls or ends on.
Correct.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
I'm just fresh out of school and I remember this.
Yeah.
That it
only if
was,
it falls on.
if there's a holiday, it's a period, that it wouldn't start until the Tuesday.
If it falls on a Tuesday, if it falls on a national holiday, it rolls over to the next day.
It's a counting day though.
But it is a counting day.
What does that mean, counting?
So go ahead.
No, you count it. Like it's Saturday 1, Sunday 2, Monday holiday 3, Tuesday, it's, or if it was, let's say it was four, let's say it was
yeah,
4 days. Let's say it was 4 days. So Saturday's day 1, Sunday's day 2, Monday's day 3. Even though it's a holiday, it's still a count. I'm still counting.
But they don't actually count.
If they do.
Yeah, they
Roll-
do.
Don't they roll over?
Only if it falls
if it
on.
lands on it.
Oh, wow.
Only if it lands.
Okay, I get
Yeah.
that.
Not if it's in the middle.
Yeah,
Only if it
that's
lands on it.
interesting.
So, but
Oh my
this
God.
I'm gonna
effective
bring in that
date,
section of my
Right.
book, because I don't know if it's
Mm.
changed or not, but specifically.
It's counted as a day, yeah.
this doing the effective date is really important because
Yeah.
it affects me too.
Yeah.
It affects everything.
It affects everything.
That's-
Because if they can really screw with you and get everything, and send it at 11 o'clock that night, where it's a dead day for me. I
But
lost it. If
still-
we're doing a quick if we're doing a 7-day loan approval, well, I just lost day 1.
And I didn't know day 0, I thought that was day 1.
No.
When
Yeah.
both parties executed,
No.
Me too, for that.
That's
usually when you execute, I mean, you could give it to them the next day, but usually if you would give it to them that day, but I didn't know that was day 0.
that's day
I
0.
didn't know that,
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
point.
And if it gets delivered to all parties at 11 o'clock at night, that's day 0. That counts.
It's 11:59, right?
If
Or
it's-
12.
Right. If it's not delivered, then and it gets delivered the next. It's signed the day before, but it gets delivered the next day. So you get signatures at 11 o'clock, but it doesn't happen to get delivered because you fell asleep.
Right.
Then the next day is day 0. Day 0.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which can
and
also
that's-
mess up your contract and stuff too, if you, right? Well, no.
it has to be delivered to all parties.
Giving it the next day would be better than 11 at night.
He's so scheduled.
Gives you more time.
It does.
I would fall
Yeah,
asleep.
especially with
Yeah.
7-year-old boy.
Hey, you're an early, you go to sleep early. What can you do?
After 6 o'clock even.
You gotta
Yeah.
use the system too to your benefit.
But then again, you do want to get something locked up.
Oh, you wanna get it timely going.
You want to get it locked up because before it's executed, someone else can come along and take the rug right from under you, and you don't want that to happen.
True, true.
So-
You're not gonna wait till Tuesday.
Don't wait till Tuesday.
For the holiday
Okay,
weekend.
so what
She's sit there,
what's
kind
going on
of
over here?
sit.
Okay, so you get it executed. We're gonna talk about putting it all together and sending everything to all parties. So you want to get the executed contract to your buyer or your seller, and make sure they have it, and then we put an email together. And the computer's not working. I was gonna show you guys, but it's not working. But you want to put an email together, putting together all the dates and all the parties that are involved. With that said, you don't want to give the other agent your client's information, because you don't really want them calling your client. That's not good. So don't do that. But then with the other side, and if you guys want to take one and pass it around. This is not what I want it to really look like, but this is an example of the timeline. Oh, hold on. Sorry, give me this. And then take one and pass it out.
Okay.
So you want to send over, very important, in an email to the other agent and say, hey, I'm confirming that the effective date, and I do this separate from the timeline. So I'll put together a timeline, I'll say, hey, please confirm all dates. But separate from that, I'll say, the effective date is, whatever the date is. Please confirm that this is the effective date. And it's very important because once they agree that this is the effective date, now you're both on the same page, and you're working from that point forward, and the rest of the timeline should work out. And you get these dates from what you put on the contract. What you write on the contract, how you write it up, is what's going to determine your timeline.
Okay, what were
Yes.
you saying about who shouldn't see what?
Okay, the other agent shouldn't have your client's information,
Oh, okay.
no matter which side you're on. So I send out. This is just two examples of different people do it different ways, and this isn't. I'm not telling you exactly how to do it. I'm just letting you guys know the general idea, and then how you put it together or present it. It's up to you. Everyone has their own kind of personalities, but these are just two of the most recent things that I was involved in, and two different people doing it two different ways. As far as the timeline goes, and then I like what I also do. What important contacts you'll see on the one list. They're putting everyone's info, boom, 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 boom,
Which is good, yeah.
on there.
This is great.
So that's very important because now each party can have, title can reach out to the lender can reach out to the title, and to you or your assistant if they can't get a hold of you or whatever it is. So that's very important. And then these dates. So these are two transaction coordinators, two different ones that put this together. I would add to this, and what you don't see is a previous email that said, hey, the effective date is this. Here's the executed contract attached below, so that all parties have the executed contract. And what am I missing? Yes.
Quick question here.
Yes.
So here is the due date, so basically
Yes.
the loan application must be done by the date that is.
It's whatever is in the contract. So for the loan application, the default is 5 days. If you leave it blank, it's 5 days. But right away, you want to, as soon as it goes executed, you want to make sure that title has the contract, or your client has the contract in a separate email with this timeline that you create. The lender gets the contract, and I don't just send it. I send it and then I call them. Hey, Mike, I just sent you a contract. I know it's 11 o'clock at night, but I'm just sending it to you, and I just want to let you know
Sorry
that
to
it's
wake you.
in your inbox.
Yeah.
You know, so you just don't wait. Just get working on it. You know, or whatever.
And I say, who is this?
Yeah, and he says, "Who is this? Why are you calling me?" And same thing with title, confirm. And then with title, you want to ask them for. Let's talk about getting money in escrow. So, I know schools teach different things, and if you're fresh out of school, what I'm saying, you might say, "Oh, that they didn't teach it like that." But this is just real world how things operate. I don't want to have an escrow check. I'm not driving around in my car with someone's $10,000 escrow check because I get in a crash or I roll the windows down and the escrow check flies out the window. And then, hey, sorry, I lost your $10,000 check because I'm dumb and rolled the windows down while I was in my front seat. No, you don't want that. And I don't want to be involved in wiring instructions, anything, because someone wires the money to title company and they didn't confirm the routing number and the account number, and then a hacker takes their $10,000 escrow check, and because I sent it to them, now I'm in trouble. I don't want to be involved. So I have the title company send directly over to the client wiring instructions, and then I confirm with the client, look, call the title company and make sure that account number, when you're at the bank, that account number and the routing number is correct. So that way they're not making some scammer rich. Not rich, but
Yeah, it
So
happens.
basically, the escrow money has to be done from title company, client title company through wire, correct?
through wire, or I say, hey, drop off a check. Take a check, and it can be any check, and just drive it over to the title company. Here's the address. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be involved.
Also client.
Client directly with the title company. Okay. And then they have whatever. Yes.
What if the title company is the other side of Florida? I'm just saying.
Or the
They're
client.
wired.
And they wire it.
Or they
Client
FedEx
and the title company.
Overnight
which
it.
is why this is good, or you send them the information so they can communicate about the money.
Then what's
Right.
wrong, there's another part of what I was gonna say. The way it was taught is that you take that check into the broker and give them the responsibility.
Correct. Ask Mike, Steve. Ask him if he wants to hold someone's. Ask him
Money on a
and
rental.
see what he says.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to hold anybody's anything.
Ask him if he wants to hold $10.
Yeah.
Well, my point I'm trying to make is that on the course, we were all taught
Right.
to take it into the broker.
Correct.
If you look through the paperwork, it tells you
Right.
that. So
Give
what
it
I'm
to
saying
the
is-
broker.
That's why I said in the beginning, this is what school teaches,
Right.
and this is real world how it works.
Yet a better way to do it.
This is the way to do it.
You got 3 days.
So we don't give it to the broker.
I
don't
mean,
involve yourself.
you can. What I'm telling you is that I don't want to be involved because I don't want that to be on me when the dog, Lauren's dog, eats someone's escrow check that drops on the floor or flies out the window.
The book was done in 2007.
I understand
The one
everything that you
with-
say, don't get me wrong, I was
Yeah.
just saying.
When it's a
That's-
rent.
That's what they were taught.
That's the best way to do it, because that's the way I do it. The title comes down there and I'll take it to the title company.
If that works for you,
No,
That's-
I'll tell you why, when I done
God,
that.
this was drilled into us.
When I done that at Keller Williams, they told me to bring the check, don't do anything with it, bring it into the office. When I've come here now, they've said it's all right to go down with the title company.
I've worked with 3 different companies, and this is the way that I've done it.
It's best
And-
way.
And
Makes
it,
sense.
if Keller Williams says do it that way, then hey, listen to them. But we're not at Keller Williams.
No, that's not the point I'm making, but it's fine, I understand what you're saying.
I'm just saying, look, you don't want to be. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying you don't want to be. I don't want to be responsible for someone's check that goes missing. So this is what I think is the better way when the client is communicating directly with the title company and dropping off
This
that.
is so
No
much better.
broker
that
wants
money.
to take the money. There's no broker that wants it, unless it's a rental. The rental.
That's
you
a
don't
bad
go
word.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
Mm.
That was a joke.
Right, right. Well, there is a 3-day time on this that it has to get there.
Unless you
So-
put more.
Hmm.
Unless you put more time, because
Oh,
your
right,
clients.
on the contract.
Right, because it's the weekend and then it's the holiday and they have to move money around or whatever, and then you can put more time. And then let's go through some of this. So you've got your effective date, which is the most important, really the most important thing. Your escrow deposit, and then what's not on here is your inspection. You want to.
Inspection period.
Inspection period
Oh,
5.
yeah, period. But what I mean is scheduling the inspection.
Oh.
So you want to make sure the inspection gets scheduled right away because times can get filled up with your inspection
So after
companies.
the effective,
After the effective date.
then we schedule the inspection.
Inspection. So there's several things that I tell the client. With your money in escrow, you have to. We're going to order the inspection. We're going to apply for the loan, and if left blank on the contract, it says 5 days. So within 5 days, they have to apply for the loan with Mike, and Mike's on top of them with that.
Which it's funny that they just did this whole, revamp of the contract. If somebody is given a buyer a pre-approval, they've already made application. Like I've had applications, for a month, and then they finally go into contract. It says 5 days. We already have a contract. They already did what they were supposed to do. That is really like when people were going and saying, "Oh, let's go see this house. I wonder if I'm qualified. I'm going to make an offer, and now I'm going to call my guy, and I'll fill out an application." For the most part, they've already made application. And it's up to us to make sure that they're giving us all the documentation. And we'll deal with, Joe will say, "Hey, how quickly can we get loan approval? How can I tighten up my contract and make it as sexy as possible for the seller?" And sometimes we'll say, do a 15-day approval, do a 7-day approval, or we can say, do a 21-day approval. This person it's like pulling teeth, getting anything from this borrower, where you're not sure if they're gonna get you everything that you've been asking for actual approval. Condos, be mindful. So loan approval now is appraisal and credit approval. It doesn't say anything about collateral other than value. Meaning we can have an appraisal done, the condo can appraise, everything is hunky-dory, and then all of a sudden they don't have sufficient insurance as a master policy and you can't do financing in that building. But I already gave my loan approval because I have my credit approval and my appraisal came in within 10 days. And on day,
And you'll get that at the end, right? Sometimes
we
you won't
try
get
to
that
get-
until you get the condo,
it's however, yes.
questionnaire or
It's
whatever.
however quickly the association is giving us
Right.
what we're asking for
Right.
with the condo questionnaire and everything filled out. And then you'll start seeing, the buildings on A1A, there are certain questions on that condo questionnaire that they're not willing to answer anymore.
Yep.
So they say, "No, we're not answering it." We get that back. We say, "They're not answering it." Okay, give me 6 months of the meeting minutes, give me this, give me that. More time is being burned. In the meantime, we already have loan approval, technically loan approval because it appraised, and the credit underwriting portion is done. So when it comes to a condo, it's up to the lender to communicate with both sides saying, "Hey, this is what we have. We're still waiting for this component. So you guys have to figure out, you can't lock in our buyer and say, 'Hey, I'm gonna hold your earnest money because you gave me loan approval,' and all of a sudden the thing can't be financed." So you may have to say, "We need a couple more days," or put something in there so everybody's aware this is not something that the buyer is doing. The buyer's not holding anything up. They've done everything that we've asked them to do. It's the association that's maybe not getting us information, and you can't fault the buyer. So there are certain things it's a very fluid situation when it comes to condos, because it's not as cut and dry as valuation is there, credit underwriting is there. It's also collateral. If the collateral is insufficient and they have concrete shoring projects going on that no one's going to lend on, your buyer can't be held responsible.
It's the seller's it's in a way it's a seller's default.
If they didn't disclose, if there's no seller's disclosure, things like that, but sellers don't have to do a disclosure, right?
No, they don't. By law, they don't have to.
They don't have to.
And then so another good thing is 2 or 3 days before your deadline hits, you want to have on your calendar or on your phone or what have you, you want to make sure that you're on top of this. So, for instance,
Deadline for what, for loan approval?
for all of these
Anything.
days,
Just make
for
sure.
just everything, you wanna have a note that's you're following up. So, for instance, for title evidence, okay, for the title company, if left blank on the contract, it says that they have 15 days. If it's a loan, if it's cash, it's 5 days. So let's say you have a loan.
What? Repeat that, please.
Yeah, so on the contract, if left blank under title evidence, I think it's under section 9A or B or C, or one of them. Let me look.
Title evidence.
So, yeah, 9C. Okay, so if left blank, 15 days is checked. Let's see here, title evidence.
If blank, they have 15 days?
Hold on a second, hold on. Let me see here. 5 days. Yeah, okay, so if paragraph 8A is checked. Okay, yeah, so see, so if 8A is checked, and that's if it's a cash transaction, then there you have 5 days. Otherwise, if left blank, it's 15 days. So I leave that blank. So if someone's getting a loan, they have 15 days to get title evidence. So 3 days prior, I would call title and say, hey, I'm just checking in to make sure you've got title evidence, because they can order title on a rush and get it back in 3 days. That's why 3 days prior, check in with title prior to that 15 days expiring. Call and check in with title and make sure that they have title evidence.
And that's all, this email that you send out with all here's the lender, here's the listing agent, here's the buyer's agent, have to put the title in there because we're Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
Seller chooses. So many times you guys are making offers on properties and you don't know who the title company is going to be, and it's different. The escrow company will be different from who I'm going to order title from. So it's really important for us to know who's doing title, so we can send it out immediately.
And by the way, Alicia told, she's a transaction coordinator, fantastic.
Who's that?
The lady
Oh,
who's here,
Alicia. Oh, yeah.
Faith and Alicia,
Yeah.
they are amazing.
Right.
Yeah. But regardless, when you rely on the transaction coordinator, it's important to know the days because they are busy too, and they can skip something if you don't know. So you are the responsible.
Then you never use them again.
Yeah.
One and done.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah. So okay. That's a good point. If your title coordinator, transaction coordinator, sorry, if your TC is not doing a good job, then you can be in trouble, because if you miss the deadline and the other side wants to call you on it or get out of the deal, you could lose a deal because they're not doing their job. And the whole reason that we have a transaction coordinator, or if you get one, is because who's busy enough to put this together and keep track of everything? When you have a bunch of deals going at the same time, to keep track of everything, unless you're really, really organized, it can be difficult if you're like me. Let's see here, what else? Loan application, condo application, that's a good one. You have if left blank on the contract, and you can change it, or on the condo writer, you have 5 days. And normally when I fill this stuff out, I just leave a lot of the stuff blank just as it is, or I'll fill in if it says if left blank 5 days, and I'll just put 5 days. And then let the buyer know, hey, you have 5 days to apply to the condo association. And then obviously it's up to you to get the condo information, get the application, and get it to your buyer. I put all this, you can put all this in one email. So the important contacts, the timeline, and then hey, who are you using for title? This is Palm Beach County. Who are you using for title? Can you please send me over the seller's disclosure? Can you please send me over the condo application or the condo contact information so I can reach out to them? And you put it, and I don't have an example of that, but you put it together in one nice email. And also at the very most important thing is confirm the effective date. The effective date is this. Everything else can you can figure out tomorrow. But the most important thing is effective date. Make sure they confirm, hey, you have a copy of the contract, you've received it, and the effective date is this. Financing contingency, that's something that you want to be communication with Mike about, like our deal that we have, where the appraisal came in low. We have a 30-day financing, so we have time. So that's great because it gives us time to fight or get this appraisal changed. It came in how 40?
40,000. The 360 contract came in 320.
Yeah.
It's a 97-year-old house. I mean, I think it's.
So you have 30 days to either work it out with the seller, come up with to negotiate it down, or.
We'll get they'll drop the price.
Yeah, okay,
Right,
right.
Mike? Yeah, they'll drop the price. Hopefully, maybe, or maybe not.
But you have those 30 days where.
You have 30 days to work with,
Right.
which is why, if you get a real tight financing contingency, loan approval period, then you can really hurt yourself, because if there's a problem, you don't have a lot of time, or you have to ask for an extension, which sucks, having to ask for an extension on something.
But it all comes down to communication.
Yeah.
It's like being, like this guy Tito happens to be really communicative.
Yeah, communicative, yeah.
And he realizes that we're all working together. We don't want it. Everybody thinks they're going to try to steal it. They want it to be at 320. No, we don't. We want it to be nice, easy. Appraise at 360. Approve at 360. Do it at 360.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
But what we want and what we hope for. Hope is not a strategy. It's we try to figure out. It's a hope. But it'll get resolved. But as long as everybody's speaking and everybody's talking, but like, hey, listen, this is where we are. Joe has a goal. Tito's got a goal. We all have the same goal.
Which is to close
Sell a
it.
house, buy a house, get it done.
Mhm.
A lot of times buyers are like, oh, they want it to be 360 because the commission's gonna be bigger. Yeah, by like what, $150?
Yeah, no, we want
Do a deal.
we just
wanna
want
make it happen.
we want to
Right.
close. We're
Yeah.
not trying to
For a
do
client.
anything but get this to close it, because
Right.
you, as a realtor, you have two jobs when you're representing a buyer. It's protect their escrow. This is my opinion. Protect their escrow and get them the house that they want. This isn't if someone's buying a house, it's where their kids are gonna be. It's where they're gonna live. It's where their family's gonna grow or fall apart. Whatever. It's important.
Yeah.
It's important. It's the most important thing is this home, and a lot of people think of it as, hey, this is an investment, and it is, but it's more than an investment. This is someone's home, and I think a lot of times we get caught up because we just see the numbers, and we're the ones that are working with the numbers, and they see it as a home, and it's not just an investment. So, your two jobs is get them the house that they want. They want this house, get it for them. Do whatever it takes to get them the house. And two, just make sure that they don't lose, that you don't get an escrow dispute and you don't lose their escrow. And that's what we're talking about. That's why these important dates, because when you start missing dates and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, now
You're messing with their money. Yeah.
now you get into an escrow dispute and you lose their money.
Right.
And if you lose someone's couple $1,000s, usually they're not too happy with you. And to know this contract is like your sword. If you're going into battle, if you don't know how to use your sword, you are going to be screwed. You're going to just die.
Can I ask you a question on the contract, even though
Yes.
we're not talking about that? Because now you're talking about appraisals, and I noticed there's an appraisal addendum. So are you supposed to be using that now now you're trying to fight for a lower price? You're only able to do that if you have the appraisal addendum, right?
No.
No.
So
Okay,
so the finance in the updated contract, the financing is contingent on the appraisal as well.
so you don't
so if
need
it
that
doesn't
extra form?
If it doesn't appraise, you can get a loan denial and get out of the deal. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm there to protect their EMD money also.
Yeah.
right, and Mike's
I'm
there
not
too.
an uninterested party. It's like they're a way, not that you want to deny something, and especially if it's let's say it's an FHA loan, you can't just deny it just to deny and get them out, because it gets logged in the FHA system, and then when you go to buy another house, they'll say, they were just denied. Why were they denied? You have to. You can't just make it up. But like Joe saying, that contract, know it backwards and forwards, because I've used that contract against listing agents before because I know the contract better than them. And
That's
I
right.
was protecting my buyer, and they couldn't close. We needed some more time. And the listing agent was like, well, my seller is not going to extend no matter what, like, let them talk.
Right.
And under extension of contract, which I think is number 5, if you read it, there's a clause in there. They cleaned it up in the new contract. It's a little stricter now, but I can get an extension with nobody signing anything if I need to. I just won't send out a CD. Because it says if the lender can't fund the loan due to CFPB requirements, then they have up to 7 days to remedy that. So if I'm supposed to close on a Thursday and the CD has to go out on Monday, just won't send out the CD.
CD meaning
Closing disclosure. I'll send it out on Wednesday, which means it'll give me to Monday to close. And the listing agent's like, sorry, don't be a jerk.
So it says this contract is contingent upon, and then you go down to 2. Buyer's mortgage broker or lender having received an appraisal or alternative valuation of the property satisfactory to the lender. If either is required by lender, which is sufficient to meet the terms required for lender to provide financing for buyer and to proceed to closing. Appraisal. So I used to include that when I wanted it contingent, to make sure if it didn't appraise we could get out. I don't include that addendum anymore because since they've updated this, it's already written into the.
That's why I was confused why you would need that if it's in the contract.
So if someone.
Is that for cash buyers actually? If they want to appraise it?
If they want to appraise it and you want
to.
No, because they're talking about the lender.
Yeah.
There is no.
No,
lender.
If you are a cash buyer and you want to include that addendum, or if it doesn't appraise, you can get out of it.
Because
if they want to get an appraiser themselves.
I just didn't know what this addendum was. I was confused if I should be putting this into my contracts because there's an appraisal addendum. So I didn't know if I'm supposed to use it or
You
not.
could make it. You could have a cash closing that you could make contingent on an appraisal.
Whether or not the listing agent accepts it or not.
That's another story. But if they accept it, then it can be contingent on an
I just didn't
appraisal.
know when I'm
You
supposed
could.
to be using that. So.
Can I just say one
Yes.
thing? So also, let's say the house is $100,000, but it comes in at 80. You could say, like, the addendum would serve this purpose as to where buyer and seller agree that buyer will only pay up to 10, like, you can put, like, strict terminology into that, like, buyer will only pay $5,000 above appraised price. So you can put these, like, specific terms in there, where this just says if it doesn't appraise, you can get out of it.
You're gonna preempt the whole conversation saying, yes, there's already a built-in appraisal contingency, however, let's not have an argument later, let's just do it now. I'm $400,000, doesn't appraise for that, I'm willing to pay $5,000 over appraised value, not to exceed the initial offer price.
Yeah.
So that would be like adding specifics, but yeah.
So back to knowing this contract, if you haven't read it through and through, you should read it a few times through and through to get a good understanding of what it says. For instance, I had a deal and they at the very last day of their approval period, they sent in a loan denial. And so we thought, oh well, it's a loan denial. Well, wait a minute, what does the loan denial say? It says that the buyer refused to submit documents. Uh-oh, we have a problem.
Not a good reason.
That's not a good reason. And then listen to this. It says, buyer's failure to use good faith and diligent effort to obtain loan approval during the loan approval period shall be considered a default under the terms of this contract. For purposes of this provision, diligent effort includes, but is not limited to, timely furnishing all documents and information required by buyer's mortgage broker and lender, and paying for appraisal and other fees and charges in connection with the buyer's application for financing. So if they're not using that diligent effort and it defines that, they're not submitting their documents or they refuse to pay for appraisal or what have you, and then they get a loan denial, well, that's still a default. And it's important. So my point is that there's a lot of nuance in the contract that we all need to be really familiar with, because when you get in an escrow dispute and it's your fault, or you're gonna lose your buyer's deposit, generally, that's they're not too happy.
In that case, the buyer, if they lose it, it's their own fault at that point.
It's the agent's fault. I mean, it all
But
falls
if
on the
they
agent, right?
refused, no, it said that the buyer refused to put in the documents.
Right, but then as an agent, you have to explain to the buyer
Yeah.
that, hey, you can get a loan denial for other reasons, but what you're trying to do, that's not one of them. And so the realtor was submitting this like, hey, we're home free. It's just loan denial. We're good to go. And she didn't understand that that wasn't a valid reason.
It will be your fault.
So
Yeah.
they may as well not have even submitted anything. They may as well just defaulted.
So don't you just call the buyer and say, hey, don't you want this? You have to.
No,
So
they
get
were,
the
try-
documents
they
and
were
you lose your
probably
deposit.
trying to get out of.
They were trying to get out of it, but
the
they went
house.
about
They
it the
didn't want
wrong
the
way.
house anymore, but they used the wrong
Change
excuse.
their mind.
They
But
used
then
to.
but then there's.
They lost their
They're
deposit.
losing their deposit.
They will
It-
say you didn't explain.
It was
Oh,
a
really?
big fight.
Yeah.
They threatened to I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna sue you personally. Everyone gets. I was representing the seller, so when they submitted this, I was like, well, okay, well, you're in default. What? I got a loan denial. Yeah, within the loan period. Yeah, but look what the loan denial says. And then I said, why don't you go ask your broker or some real estate attorney? Go find a real estate attorney. See what they say. And they're going to tell you that you're in default and you're going to lose your escrow.
Because we're working on a contract that every agent's supposed to know when they sell or buy. The contract is the contract, so at the end of the day, whoever's arguing about it, we all use one contract. So whatever fault comes from that,
Right.
you have to do it.
But if you're following up with your buyer, and in this case, the buyer's just trying to get out of it, I mean, what do you do? Put everything in writing so it doesn't become your fault?
Well, it's also buyer's responsibility to know and contract.
Well, here's what I do. Here's my best advice for that is whatever the buyer's obligation is according to the contract, I don't call them and tell them. I do call them and tell them, and then I put it in writing. And I say, hey, you need to put in money in escrow. You need to apply with the condo association. Here's the application for the condo association. Here's where you submit it to. Here's how much it costs. So then when they don't do that and their escrow is in jeopardy, they don't blame you and say, well, you never told me I had to apply with the condo association. You never gave me the application. You never told me I had to put money in escrow. You never told me what else? You never told me that whatever else they have to do. So whatever they contractually have to do, you put that in writing and send it to them, to the client. Because when they default because they didn't listen to you, guess who they're going to try to blame? Everybody else but themselves. Nobody wants to take personal responsibility, especially if they're politicians.
Assume your buyer is an 8-year-old
Yeah.
and lay everything out for them, just to protect yourself.
Yeah.
That's basically.
And what I do is I go through, when I meet them, before we go see houses, they get it pre-approved, and then I sit down with them and I go through the contract, a timeline, what they're gonna go through. So then when I'm taking them through this, well, for one, when I tell them to sign this, they're gonna be comfortable. They're gonna understand what it is that they're gonna expect and what it is they're gonna be doing. So, hey, just so you know, the first 3 days, you're going to be a little busy, and then it's going to calm down. So in the first 3 days, probably 3 days, maybe 5, whatever, you're going to, first 5 days, we're going to put money in escrow. We're going to have an inspection. You're going to, if you haven't already, you're going to apply for the mortgage. And you're going to be getting Mike a bunch of documents. And then you're going to get him a bunch of documents, and then guess what? He's going to ask for more documents. Be ready for it. You're going to have to sign a bunch of stuff. You're gonna have to apply for the HOA, the condo association. So, and just so you know, the condo association, they're gonna want